The story of Schindler's List runs like this. The movement of clean Jews from encompassing regions to Krakow starts in late 1939, soon after the flare-up of the Second Great War, when the German armed force overcomes the clean armed force in 3 weeks. Oskar Schindler, Liam Neeson, an effective money manager, shows up from Czechoslovakia in order to utilize the plentiful modest workforce of Jews to make enamelware for the German military. Schindler, a shrewd individual from the Nazi Party, pampers payoffs upon the military and SS authorities responsible for acquisition. Supported by the military, Schindler secures a manufacturing plant for the development of armed force rec packs and cooking stuff. Not having a profound knowledge of how to appropriately run such an undertaking, he acquires a contact in Itzhak Harsh, acted by Ben Kingsley, a functionary in the nearby Judenrat, i.e., Jewish Chamber, who is contacts with the now underground Jewish business local area in the ghetto. They credit him the cash for the processing plant as a trade-off for a little portion of items delivered, for exchange on the bootleg market. Opening the industrial facility, Schindler satisfies the Nazis and partakes in his freshly discovered riches and status as Herr Director, while Harsh handles all organization. Harsh proposes Schindler employ Jews rather than shafts since they cost less. The actual Jews don't get anything, the wages are paid to the Reich. Laborers in Schindler's production line are permitted external the ghetto, and Harsh distorts records to guarantee that however many individuals as would be prudent are considered fundamental by the Nazi administration, which saves them from being shipped to death camps, or in any event, being killed. Amon Goth, Rafe Fiennes, shows up in Krakow to start development of a work camp close by, Passau. The SS before long sells the Krakow ghetto, sending in many soldiers to discharge the confined rooms and shoot anybody who fights, is uncooperative, old, or infirmed, or for not a great explanation by any means. Schindler watches the slaughter from the slopes sitting above the area, and is significantly impacted. He by and by is mindful so as to become a close acquaintance with Goth and, through Harsh's regard for payoff, he keeps on partaking in the SS's help and security. The camp is worked external to the city at Passau. During this time, Schindler payoffs Goth into permitting him to fabricate a sub-camp for his laborers, with the rationale of protecting them from the plunders of the Watchmen. Ultimately, a request shows up from Berlin telling Goth to unearth and obliterate all collections of those killed in the Krakow ghetto, destroy Passau, and to send the leftover Jews to Auschwitz. Schindler persuades Goth to allow him to keep his laborers so he can move them to a plant in his old home of Zwickau-Brindlitz, in Moravia, away from the last arrangement presently completely underway and involved Poland. Goth submits, charging a specific sum for every laborer. Schindler and Harsh collect a rundown of laborers that ought to keep them off the trains to Auschwitz. Schindler's rundown contains these gifted prisoners, and for the majority of those in Passau, being incorporated means the distinction among life and demise. Schindler likewise plays a round of high card draw for one specialist specifically, Helen Hirsch, who'd been filling in as Goth's servant and had been a survivor of his persistent maltreatment. Goth is hesitant, wanting to take off with her yet realizing that such an activity would bring about his passing along with hers. He likewise drifts the possibility of essentially executing her, however at last chooses to play Schindler for Helen's life. Helen is among the people who board the train to Brindlitz. The men on Schindler's All's rundown show up securely at the new site, with the special case for the train conveying the ladies and the youngsters, which is coincidentally diverted to Auschwitz. There, the ladies are coordinated to what they accept as a gas chamber, after a frightening encounter where their hair is roughly trimmed off and they are compelled to strip. They see just water tumbling from the showers. The following day, the ladies are shown sitting tight in line for work. Meanwhile, Schindler had surged quickly to Auschwitz to tackle the issue and to get the ladies out of Auschwitz. To this end he payoffs the camp commandant, Rudolf Haas, acted by Hans Michael Rehberg, with a store of jewels so he can save every one of the ladies and the kids. Nonetheless, a last issue emerges right when every one of the ladies are loading up the train in light of the fact that few SS officials endeavor to keep a few kids down and keep them from leaving. Schindler, there to actually manage the boarding, steps in and is fruitful in getting from the officials the arrival of the youngsters. When the Schindler ladies show up in Zwickau-Brindlitz, Schindler establishes firm controls on the Nazi watchmen allocated to the processing plant, outline executions are taboo, maltreatment of the laborers is too, and the Nazi gatekeepers are not permitted on the production line floor. Schindler likewise allows the Jews to notice the time of rest, and spends a lot of his fortune procured in Poland paying off Nazi authorities. In his old neighborhood, he shocks his significant other while she's in chapel during Mass, and tells her that she is the main lady in his life, in spite of having been shown beforehand to be a womanizer. She goes with him to the production line to help him. He reaches a financial dead end similarly as the German armed force gives up, finishing the conflict in Europe. As a German Nazi and self-depicted opportunist of slave work, Schindler should escape the approaching Soviet Red Armed Force. Subsequent to excusing the Nazi watchmen to get back to their families, he packs a vehicle in the evening, and says goodbye to his laborers. They give him a letter making sense of he is certainly not a criminal to them, along with a ring engraved with the Talmudic citation, "He who saves the existence of one man, saves the world whole." Schindler is contacted yet profoundly upset, feeling he might have accomplished other things to save a lot more lives. He leaves with his significant other during the evening, wearing shine detainee garments, acting like outcasts. The Schindler Jews, having dozed external the manufacturing plant doors as the night progressed, are stirred by daylight the following morning. A Soviet dragoon shows up and declares to the Jews that they have been freed by the Red Armed Force. The Jews stroll to a close-by town looking for food. A title card illuminates us that Schindler was pronounced an honest individual by the Yad Vashem of Jerusalem, and himself established a tree on the road of the noble in Israel, which actually develops right up till now. The destiny of Goth is additionally shown. He was caught close to the German town of Terrible Tolls and returned to Passau where, disobedient as far as possible and declaring his faithfulness to Hitler, is hanged for violations against mankind. As the enduring Schindler Jews walk side by side, the edge changes to one more of the Schindler Jews in the current day, in Variety, at the grave of Oskar Schindler in Israel. The film closes with a parade of now matured Jews who worked in Schindler's processing plant, every one of whom respectfully sets a stone on his grave. The entertainers depicting the significant characters walk inseparably with individuals they depicted, additionally putting stones on Schindler's grave as they pass. Entertainer Ben Kingsley accompanies the late Itzhak Harsh's significant other and Caroline Goodall accompanies Schindler's better half in her wheelchair. The crowd discovers that the survivors and relatives of the roughly 1,100 Jews protected by Schindler currently number more than 6,000. The Jewish populace of Poland, when numbering in the large numbers, was at the hour of the film's delivery roughly 4,000. In the last scene, a man, Neeson himself, however his face isn't noticeable, puts a couple of roses on the grave, and stands thoughtfully ready to move on and not look back.